Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kat Timpf Show, second episode. I'm here with Dave Navarro, who's, you're a rock star. You're a host of Ink Master. You have a TV show. You just came out with an amazing documentary, Mourning Son. Everyone should watch it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, because I just met you when you did the Gutfeld show.
Right.
Was it last week or the week before? Because today
it was like a week ago.
Yeah, today they're replaying Bill O'Reilly's Finding Jesus on
Oh yeah,
because it's Easter.
I still haven't seen that though.
I haven't either, but it's Easter.
But I think it would be interesting just on a historical, theological level.
Yeah.
Whether you have any connection to Christianity or not, I would find that to be an interesting story.
Right. Yeah. Like we were talking about earlier. I'm not a religious person.
Me either. But I study religions and I study the historical nature of religions and the Bible in particular. I think it's all really incredibly fascinating, especially if you look at some of that stuff as historical accounts.
Yeah.
Whether you believe in the spiritual aspect or not, they're still fascinating.
Right. Exactly. And everyone's in these lanes now of whether you're conservative or you're Republican, and that's why I'm sure a lot of people were shocked to see you on Fox News.
I guess so. But what's interesting is that the story of Christianity is almost, to me, as compelling as Ancient Aliens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's still it's got like a shred of disbelief. It's got a shred of believability. It's got a shred of history to it. So, I really enjoy juxtapose things like that.
What was it like? Did you have Ink Master fans watching Gutfeld, and were they
oddly enough, or I guess, honestly, most of my fan base does not watch Fox News.
Right.
So they didn't know. It slipped under the radar.
Yeah.
But I got more people from Fox, more Fox fans, against my appearing on the network than I got my fans against me appearing on Fox, which was weird.
Is it because, like you said, you're discussing, I'm very socially liberal.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, I'm first of all, I'm a cable news junkie to begin with.
Yeah.
So I spend as much time on Fox as I do on CNN and MSNBC because I just like to get a well-rounded. If I'm going to get biased opinions, I want to get them all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Do too. I watch
because
it.
I know that they're biased, know, and I also know where I come from, so I tend to gravitate towards the most entertaining of the three.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And Fox tends to be more entertaining.
It's entertaining,
and frankly, they just use better colors.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They got color schemes that work.
They do. I have a lot of brightly colored dresses in my closet.
Here we are. Taking pictures.
Yeah, we're taking pictures, and I look so bad today, and if it's fine, it's all right. I feel like dudes don't notice even hair, really.
What do you mean?
Men. I've never heard a man be like, "Oh, she's kind of hot, but her hair has no volume."
Oh,
There's
no, you're hanging out with the wrong man.
Yeah, no man would say that. They'd be like, I was gonna hook up with her, but her hair didn't have volume.
I've had hair issues where I've shied away.
Really? Yeah. Bald or what?
No, my feeling is that an updo
is
you may as well just call it a day. Updos don't work.
That's what I've got on right now.
Well, it looks okay on you. But in general, speaking of which, updos back in the Victorian times when they were invented was because women stuck their hair up in wigs because they had no conditioners, they had no blow dryers, no flat irons. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they invented the updo.
It's my day off, Dave.
I understand. Me too.
I'm going to be up and looking like naughty librarian Barbie at 6:30 tomorrow morning. Fox and Friends and all that going on. I think also, with Trump and
you're doing Fox and Friends tomorrow
morning, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Big animal news?
Yeah. There's going to be probably a bear. There's always a bear cub in there, and there's always it's always just wild. Ja Rule was there one time, and I was like, I don't understand.
That's crazy.
They bring him on Fox Business sometimes to talk about the presidential race, and it's like.
But that's the same thing. I was just on Kennedy's show talking about the presidential race, and I just got lots of people. Well, who are you to tell us? I'm a voter.
Yeah,
that's who I am.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Plus, it's interesting, how many more people. I think a lot of it has to do with, not to be cliche, but all this PC type garbage. You heard about these kids. This is what I'm talking about tomorrow on Fox and Friends. These kids who they had to call in counselors because they were so upset that their classmates wrote Trump.
The chalk Trump. Yeah.
It wasn't even
that's insane.
It wasn't even race. It was all that they had was
it
Trump,
just said 2016.
Vote Trump. Trump's going to be the nominee. And these kids are upset. They were saying they were afraid that they were going to get shot on campus.
But here's the reality. If you're the type of person who's going to need counseling because of something like that, then it's safe to say you needed counseling anyway. To begin with, because you're that kind of a person who's that unhinged.
Yeah,
might as well stick me with counseling. Who cares what it triggers?
I completely agree with that. But I just kind of wonder why they're doing it. Are they really upset? Do they like the attention?
I think that it's really popular. See, here's what I've noticed. And when it comes to educated, informed people about the presidential election and where they stand, usually people have a definitive opinion and they have a definitive idea of what they'd like to see happen and who they're for and who they're against. It's the almost militant thinking, the people that have against Trump that are the least informed. Because then it's these blanketed statements that they've heard. It's almost a game of telephone.
Right.
So it's like he says he wants to put up a wall. That turns into he hates Mexicans.
Right.
That turns into he's a racist. That turns into now he's Hitler.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Hitler, man.
But
oh,
it's like they
man.
take it so far without doing any research.
Right.
And now it's just this knee-jerk reaction to the most simplistic idea. If you want a voice, go vote.
Right.
That's the thing is like there's all these protests going on. There's all these outrageous outcries over different nominees, and Bernie Sanders is a communist and Trump is Hitler, and people are going on these huge campaigns of anger and outrage to quote unquote have a voice. But what they're missing is the idea that the reason we have elections is to utilize your voice.
Right.
That's what this whole thing is.
Yeah.
We don't need you to go marching against anything. Just go to the booth.
Right.
That's what this is for.
I don't know exactly what these Stop Trump protesters are trying to, how? Like, what do you mean stop Trump? Like,
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around that too, because all that's doing is giving him another hour on Hannity to talk about how he feels about, which Hannity, to be fair, has turned into the Donald Trump hour.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, he likes Trump.
Oh my God. It's
He
just
likes Trump.
every other day. It's a week of Hannity and Trump and just softball questions, which is, it's okay. It's his show. He can do what he wants.
Right.
But I don't really know how they're planning on stopping Trump by giving him more airtime.
I know, and he's been doing a great job. And then if the rallies get canceled, then he looks sympathetic, and he just is able to. I mean, and then I think he had a great idea with coming out of the gate with this anti-PC thing, because people are really sick of it.
Yeah, I am.
I'm very sick, because I do stand-up comedy.
As a comedian, that's your saving grace, because for some reason comedians can get away with anything because you're quote unquote a comedian.
Yeah.
Or have you found that to not be true?
It's true except for death. I
Really?
told you after my mom died, a year ago from November. It's something that was on my mind a lot, and so I tried to write jokes about it, and she was very funny about it. Even like she was making jokes as she was dying about the fact that she was dying.
Yeah,
and,
which I believe I would do.
Yeah, I would. What else are you gonna do?
I would still worry about if I could fit into a particular pair of pants.
Oh my gosh! I mean, she was hilarious. She was talking about like,
does this IV make me look fat?
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Exactly. She had people like flipping her on the bed. She's like, oh, now that I've lost all this weight, I used to have this great ass, and now everyone's seeing me naked.
Yeah,
like, hilarious.
It's the old, I hate to say it, it's the old adage, comedy, tragedy plus time. So maybe enough time hasn't gone by.
Yeah.
You can joke about the Lincoln assassination all you want, because plenty of time went by.
Yeah.
Mom dying in November makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah, right. Well, people, it's like, I don't like, that's kind of how I deal with everything. And it's like, if I'm joking about it, like, take my lead.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever, because you lost your mom, you were really brutal
murder.
Horrible
murder.
Horrible shit.
Yes.
I mean, and so did you feel like, you use that so people would, because you feel like bad almost.
I used humor as a coping mechanism for myself, because it was such a dark time. Like you need there to be a release valve,
right.
Because the pressure builds up to a point where it's either I'm going to go, kill somebody else,
right.
or, find some other source of release. And so for me, humor was a huge way of dealing with that and coping with that. It was also a way to kind of put others at ease.
Exactly.
And just make the whole subject matter a
Exactly.
little bit more palatable, because I found a lot of people really tend to get uncomfortable. Maybe you experience that too.
Yeah.
Like everything's great, and then the idea of dead mom comes up, and they're like, "Oh wow!"
I hate when people.
I didn't really know that was going on with
Oh,
it. You know what I mean?
I hate, I don't know if I should lie.
She's one of those.
Yeah,
be cool, everybody. Kat's here.
Kat's mom.
Don't
died.
talk about
She
your
might
mom.
cry. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And it's like I had a really rough 6 months last year. So my mom died, my grandma died, my dog died, and then I went through a horrible breakup all within 6 months. And so it was a bummer. But I did joke about it a lot.
That's a potpourri of loss.
I was like, okay, who's gonna die next? And so I remember I was about to do red eye, and I had come back from my grandma's funeral, and I was like, oh, I was at home. They were like, oh, why? And I'm like, oh, my grandma's funeral. And the woman who was doing my hair, she's like, "Oh, was it your mom's mom or your dad's mom?" And it's my mom's mom. And I'm like, shit. I'm like, my mom's mom. And I knew it was coming next. And she was like, "How does your mom feel about it?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. She's dead also." And then you feel like, and then I laugh because it's like, you feel like you need to apologize for bringing the quality of life in the room down.
I understand, but I mean, to me, there's something, I don't know, to me, there's something totally freeing about it. And I think, and the documentary that we brought up earlier is called Mourning Son, which I produced, and it's about my mom's death and her murder and how I coped with it. And I went down a lot of paths that were, you know, that advisable and a lot that aren't. You know, the drug addiction I wouldn't advise, but, you know, and it wasn't all bad, let's be honest with you. But, you know, and I talk about humor as a coping mechanism, and I feel that there's something, if you can get to that place in the face of trauma, it's completely freeing and liberating.
Yeah.
And then there's really nothing else that life can throw at you that you're not equipped for.
That's kind of how I feel. And with me, I mean, so with my mom, she basically, she was kind of like sick, just kind of like slow. She was still working. And then we found out that she might have cancer. She did not have cancer. We were all pumped.
Well, how did she die?
And then all of a sudden we find out she had this rare disease called cardiac amyloidosis. So it's like your liver produces a protein that your body can't break down. It builds up in organs. So it built up in her heart. So we find out she has a disease, and she's dead 3 weeks later.
You're kidding.
No, it was like boom. And we're like, holy shit.
So did she have horrible symptoms leading up to it, or was she kind of okay?
She was kind of okay.
Because that seems like the way to go.
Yeah,
I would rather do that than like the 6 months on tubes.
Exactly. Well, she could have been on tubes for a lot longer, but she was like, what's the point of this shit? Like, I'm just like sitting here like sucking on ice chips and like bumming everybody out. Like,
did she get to see the new Star Wars?
No, she didn't.
See, that's the real tragedy.
No, she didn't.
That's the real tragedy.
Well, and then another thing that I thought was really interesting about your documentaries, you said, you know, like, you're obviously an incredibly successful person. I've started to become moderately successful.
Yeah.
But she died right before it. You know, and it's like, shit.
And do you get those people who are like, well, she's somewhere, she's out there, she's proud of you, looking down.
Like,
yeah,
really?
I get that.
Did you talk to her?
I get people who claim to be psychic with messages from beyond.
Me too.
From my mom.
On Twitter.
Oh,
and it's
God.
like, I loved what you said, and I was laughing a lot, like, out loud in my apartment when you were like, I saw you had that new documentary where you're like, yeah, I'm so sure if my mom could communicate, she'd
choose somebody to tell me through Twitter.
Which one of my Twitter followers should I speak?
It's just terrifying and just like stalkery and creepy.
Yeah, and also, you know, I have I talked about this with that, you know, that giant man, Ben, who was on Gutfeld with us. He did a podcast about him, talking about how, like, her whole family is very religious. So I get a lot of, like, you know, you and your mom and your grandma and your dog Axel are all taking walks together in heaven. I'm like, they're not, though.
They really aren't.
They're really not. And I know that. And, like, do you think that? And you're just saying that? Like, do you think that me having lost someone just made me an idiot? Or, like, I don't know.
All we're doing is alienating whatever little fan base either one of us has. They're all going, these people are horrible. I hate them both.
But no.
But it's nice. I understand. It's coming from a place of love and a place
and I appreciate
of
it.
trying to, you know, commiserate with you. But, and also I think that, you know, for me, I've been so open about it as of the last year, you know, and just pretty transparent. So I think that gives people, you know, the idea that they have carte blanche to mention it and bring it up now and tell me how, my mom is walking in the light and smiling down on me and how proud of me
she's very proud of me. I've heard my mom's very proud.
And I don't know that I believe in an afterlife.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know for sure that I don't.
Same, exactly.
I'm cool if there is one, and if there's not, I think I'll be cool too.
Yeah.
I just have a problem with and frankly, I don't frown on any religion.
No.
Provided you don't kill anybody over
it. Right.
That's when I draw the line.
Fair.
Not really into killing.
Fair.
But I also don't like it when people do the witnessing thing, where they come at you and try and convert you into whatever they think. Or I'm going to go to hell and die and live in the fiery eternal afterlife.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. My mom, that was interesting because she was religious. She was very religious. So that was like a huge comfort to her as she was dying. So, like, I'm almost jealous of religious people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that'd be so tight to, like, think that I was gonna, like,
to be sure that you got this locked.
Yeah,
I got it unlocked.
I'm gonna
float
around after I die, and I know that's, like, so insulting to people saying, like, but no, I'm serious.
But I don't think it's insulting to them for you to just think something else. And I think that's one of the most polarizing things that's going on within this country. And everybody, you know, there's a lot of people here who are pointing at radical Islam being this big problem. And granted, there are problems with that. Okay, and I don't even open that one up. No. But we got problems here going on the very same level, because it's almost become dangerous for people like us to speak openly about
Right.
the fact that we have an agnostic viewpoint or
Exactly.
an atheist viewpoint without people coming after you, telling you how you're going to go to hell.
Yeah.
Like my response has always been, listen, if you're so sure that you're going to go to heaven, why would you want to bring a sinner like me with you?
I know,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like there's more room for you there to do what you want. And I'll go to the eternal afterlife, and you don't have to worry about me anymore.
Exactly. I know. I mean, like I had a very religious roommate. I've had, it's like, coming in like the circles that I'm in, like working for Fox and like conservative circles, I'm like always the only non-religious person in the room. And it's I always, I obviously appreciate when people care about me and they think that this would be helpful to me. I'm like, you're right, but I've tried to believe it and I don't. So like stop.
Well, here's the thing:
know?
is I have gone. I went to Catholic school.
Yeah, me too.
I went through a bunch of different sacraments as a kid.
Me too.
Yeah. So it's not like this is just blind. I'm not pushing things away without the information.
Right.
This isn't contempt prior to investigation. I've looked down the road.
Yeah.
I've investigated this stuff, and I'm educated.
Yeah.
And sometimes, people find that it's not for them, and I happen to be one of those people.
Yeah.
But I'm all about it for other people. If you have a school of thought or a doctrine or a set of commandments or a book that tells you how to live and makes you a happier person that's joyous and free in the world, I'm super happy for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if it makes you a better person and treat others great, awesome.
Right. Yeah, I know. And I just feel like I don't know what you think is going to happen with like the Republican Party. I think there's this huge split between social conservatives and people who are socially liberal. Because I'm, for example, I'm pro-choice, okay, and
Right.
so like I'm like the token pro-choice one a lot there, and I come on and I'm like, yeah, I'm pro-choice, and I'll say that. People will email me like that I'm basically like murder babies and sell their body parts.
You may as well personally.
I personally am actually I'm selling
performing abortions.
I'm performing abortions. I'm selling body parts to terrorists, like for profit, to pay for more abortions. I mean, like, but it's like you have to be more accepting of okay, I this is my political view on this one issue. I agree with you on some stuff. Why are you like assaulting me as a person?
Well, I mean, the crazy thing is that in this very dynamic time that we're in, people tend to forget that what makes this country great and what these people are running, some of the rights that we're running to protect, is our freedom to disagree and have our own viewpoints.
Right.
That's what we're all about. That's what this country is. You should be allowed to think what you think,
right,
and not have a lynch mob coming after you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's freedom of expression, freedom of press. And for us to feel at a place where we're unsafe to talk about where we're coming from and share our views without retaliation.
Right.
It's one thing to have a debate or a disagreement or a conversation or argument, but to get hate,
and I get pretty bad hate
Do you?
from all the time. Oh yeah, all the time.
Why are you such a polarizing figure? I'm gonna turn this interview around, because to me you're just like a cute little girl who's got some brains and is kind of sassy and
Thank you.
kind of horrible.
Yeah, I'm a little horrible, but
A little
I think
bit horrible,
it's
but
like
I
charm
like
as
it.
a charm about
It's a charming horrible.
Thank you. That's what I always hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I really don't. I mean, people people just like see me and they think they know me. Like if I say something anti-Trump, they're like, you establishment hack. It's like, well, I'm independent. I've never registered with a political party in my life.
Here's the crazy thing is that, especially on the Gutfeld show that I did with you guys, I went on the record and I questioned Hillary and I questioned Trump.
Right.
So I get all the Hillary people bashing me on the internet about being anti-Hillary, and I get all the Trump people bashing me for being anti-Trump, when the truth is I just questioned both frontrunners.
Right.
I didn't state a position.
Right.
You're hearing what you want to hear.
Exactly.
All I'm doing is questioning the system.
Exactly.
All I'm doing is raising awareness in terms of like, these are the the areas to look out for within these two potential nominees. And I'm being realistic and honest about it, but people are going to hear what they want to hear anyway. So I understand people who think they know you or think they know me, like they expect me to be this, drug-added, porn star loving, lefty, bleeding heart.
Yeah, you're very approachable. I've which is I'd like have learned quickly to like never expect anything or not expect anything from anybody, because that's kind of what I prefer. But I think it's like with Twitter too. Like people like you're active on Twitter. I'm active on Twitter. I think that people think they like know you really well because you tweet. I tweet about my life. Everybody knows everything. Like
right, but it's a very calculated, outpour of tweeting. I'm not tweeting every single emotional vulnerability I have. I'm tweeting what I want you to know.
Exactly. I have way more feelings than anybody.
It's very calculated. I'm trying to tweet to create the illusion of openness without actually being open.
I think that's actually very important because people are like, yeah, Kat just shares everything. I'm like, oh, I have secrets. Come on, let's be honest here. But I mean, yeah, I think with Hillary, I'm kind of glad to see this whole thing kind of breaking. Like, me and Kennedy talk about this a lot. Kennedy's a good friend of mine, about how as we're, independents, we're kind of just like, this is funny because this whole thing has been a mess for so long. As, independent libertarians, we haven't felt like we've belonged anywhere ever.
I'm right there with you.
Exactly. And it's like, well, what's going to happen? I don't know. I mean, I have no idea.
It's dangerous because I'm faced with wanting to vote against somebody rather than for somebody.
I know, me too. I mean, it's kind of like, it's like, okay, for like Bernie Sanders. I met him. I was on the Nightly Show with him. Such a nice guy.
Oh, I'll have him over for Thanksgiving anytime.
I love him.
Do I want him to run the country? No,
but then you put your income into the like his tax plan. Did you see that thing? You put your into it, like if how much money you have and how much he'll take. Hell no. Like he can't be the president.
Now let me ask. No, I know, but let me ask you a question. Has he? I mean. So, what under the free college plan, for instance, does that mean that the kid who studies really hard and holds down 2 jobs to help support his family and make his way, does he get the same benefits to go to college that the kid who stays on his couch ripping bong loads and playing Xbox all day?
Exactly. Yeah, I guess so.
Is that what happens?
The thing is, it's like, okay, so I got into Columbia Journalism School and I didn't go because I didn't have the money. And I lived in LA instead and did internships and waited tables and did like traffic reporting.
And you're where you're at because of hard work.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is supposed to be the American way, the American dream. Hard work pays off and you can have a future.
So many people, they went to the school anyways and they had all this debt. And then they're like, well, I shouldn't have this debt because it's my debt for school and you should pay it. I knew I wouldn't be able to pay it off. So I just didn't go. And I made it work anyway. Yeah. And that's why I hate the whining. It really drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I don't know, especially, I mean, I feel like a lot of people who say that these are their problems and they've never had any real problems. Obviously, I mean, like everybody needs to watch this documentary made. It's just like horrifying, but also amazing. I also found myself laughing at it.
Which one?
Your documentary,
my
Mourning
documentary.
Son. It was amazing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, and I actually found myself, laughing at certain parts, which I think is just so important.
Well, we tried to, I don't know how I missed the segue.
Yeah,
from what you were talking about into the film, but
yeah, I just feel
well
like
done.
No, I'm just thinking of like people who have never gone through anything difficult.
I see
and they kind of think, and it's like, and I hate to even say that I've gone through something difficult after having seen your shit.
But you have.
Yeah.
It's relative. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I had to include, because I'd never seen a film. There's plenty of crime documentaries.
Right.
I'm a huge crime junkie. I'm like, I live on Investigation Discovery.
Same.
I've seen every episodic dramatic series about like the Jinx and the Staircase and whatever the last thing was, Making a Murder.
Yes.
All those things. I'm riveted to those things. But I felt in ours, I wanted to focus more on the victims and the family rather than the killer. There's plenty of things that make the killers like these folk heroes, these interesting people that are gonna, after the film comes out, they're gonna get fan mail.
Right.
I didn't want to get the guy who killed my mom to have fan mail. You know what I mean? So I kept it very personal account, and within that account is the inclusion of humor, which is like we're talking about. And God, man, if I didn't have that, I don't know if I'd be with us today.
No, I know.
There's very few things. And ultimately, there's very few things that I think make my life worth living, and humor is one of them.
Mine too.
If I can't laugh, if I can't find the lighter side in things, because I come from a very dark place, then like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I noticed that, by the way, about how he was portrayed. Normally they're portrayed as like, like these dark, interesting. You just made him look kind of like a loser.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I made him look that way.
Well, I mean, I know, but like, it wasn't like, it didn't focus on that so much.
Yeah, I didn't want
what made him this
from
way.
Brooklyn in 1965, he emerged. Like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to make this guy a folk hero. I want to make him, shown to be a scumbag that he is.
I just gotta. I get mail from inmates sometimes. Sent to Fox. Yeah. I guess I have a big inmate fan base.
Well, I don't know if they have a lot of. Can they change the channel over there? Is like, are they put? Because my understanding is that there's a screen behind like a fence, and like they just put the the TV on, and what's on is what you see.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've never even been arrested, which is kind of a bummer because like I've never had that experience, and now I think too old to like have it be cute if it happened now.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
it would just be earth-shattering news.
Yeah.
You'd be
but-
looking for a job at
be on, like,
MSNBC.
yeah, it'd be like I'd be on Mediaite. Gotta love Mediaite. No, I too bad I never like stole any eyeshadow or anything when I was 16.
That's when your podcast doesn't become a thing of love and it becomes your actual job.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want that.
No, I don't want that. I want to have as many jobs as possible to.
I mean, I'm the same way. You know, I do the band, I do the TV show. I'm now making films, and I find that that's all those things kind of influence each other.
Yeah.
And they pour energy back into one another. And
Mm-hmm.
if I had just stayed in music or if I just stayed on TV, I would get incredibly bored of
Yeah.
either of those things.
I get bored easily. I mean, at the same time, I love sitting in my apartment watching crime
I love that
documentaries.
so much. I love that so much.
That's what I did all day today. That's what I did last night. But so are you going to be doing more filmmaking? Do you think? Do you have anything?
We're getting
in mind?
into linear, dramatic, scripted storytelling. So
Uh-huh.
I will never do another documentary again
Yeah.
because it's a nightmare.
What was? I mean,
It's just. Well, first of all, my story was so personal that it just took a lot out of me. But secondly, the documentary filmmaking process is so taxing because it can potentially never be over.
yeah, that's a good point. I never
Because
thought of
all
that.
it takes is somebody to say something interesting, and now you're like, fuck, I gotta go find that footage, and now I gotta
Yeah.
go chase this person down to verify what they said and talk about this. And you can make it, now I see why these shows are these episodic things, because we had a version of our film that was like 7 hours in the timeline.
Yeah.
And we had to chop it down. If I could have, I would have made it an episodic feature.
Oh, okay, yeah, because all one person like, oh shit, I got to interview that guy.
Yeah.
I got to interview that guy. I could be
and
missing
it
this
just,
angle.
and sooner or later, you're just like, let's just be done with this.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? 'Cause I can't do it anymore.
And I can imagine that being like like a crazy emotional space to have that.
For me, yeah, to have that thing just lingering on the on the hard drive, just like
Yeah.
not finished, and knowing
Yeah.
that I have yet to put it out and I have yet to talk about it and yet to promote it, and I just wanted to get past it. But I also found it to be an incredibly healing process for me.
Yeah.
Because what we're talking about in a situation like that is trauma survivors, and
Right.
and to get serious for a second. With the film, I wanted to tell a story that was, because I'm a fan of crime, documentary, filmmaking, and storytelling, and I figured this story would be compelling.
Mhm.
And it wasn't till we were maybe 2/3 of the way through it that I realized that it could speak to sufferers of domestic violence
Yeah.
and other family members that have gone through violent crime and survived trauma.
Mhm.
So then we kind of tailored it to be that way. And
Yeah.
at the end, kind of wrapped it up that way. I didn't want to wrap the whole thing up as like this, self-help world. I just wanted
Yeah.
to kind of, punctuate it at the end. And, but as a trauma survivor in my own right, and having gone through therapy and, programs and what have you, different methods and spiritual searches and
Yeah.
all these different ways of trying to deal with trauma, there's something about putting your story in a linear timeline and having it kind of quiet the mind in terms of all these different negative thoughts
Yeah.
rolling around in your head carefree and just kind of bouncing off the insides of your brain,
Yeah.
and put it in a linear timeline. I don't know if I'm making any
No,
sense.
you are.
To
And
make it a digestible, understandable story that you can compartmentalize and then put on the conveyor belt and let it walk away.
And I mean, I did find myself comparing to my own situation. I like that you were just like so honest. Like, I tried to handle it this way and this was good, and I tried to handle it this way and then I
Yeah.
became a nightmare. I mean, like after my mom, like I was very angry
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't handle everything in a healthy way. I was a nightmare to be around for a lot of reasons.
But this was last November,
This was
correct?
the November before last, so it's been about a year and a half
Okay.
now. But like, so
So you were an adult woman when this went down.
right, I'm the
Yeah.
oldest though, so I have a younger brother
Mm.
and a younger sister, and then my dad, who I feel now like a little more responsible for. He's coming to visit me next weekend. He's going to do the Fox and Friends cooking with friends with me. I've
Wow.
never seen him so excited. He's like,
Wow.
I'm gonna be a star. I'm gonna be a celebrity. So I do feel like a bit of responsibility, especially
Sure.
because it was it was sudden. We had no idea.
Yeah.
I kind of knew, like somehow I was like, look, she doesn't look right.
How was that for you in terms of dealing with your own loss of your mother and also trying to assist your dad with the loss of his wife?
It was hard. It was really hard because
Separating the two.
he would start coming to me with issues, and I was glad to help because like who else are you gonna talk to? You know?
Yeah.
It's like who else are you gonna talk to? But at the same time, it's like I don't know
Yeah.
I've never had a wife.
Yeah. And in a strange way, did you turn into the parent?
Yeah, I felt that way before. You talked to me about my like younger brother and sister, and I do my best to help. But again, I'm just like I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've never been married. I don't have any children.
Mhm.
But it does bring you all closer together. But it's just like a totally different family dynamic. And then I went home for Christmas after that, and I kind of noticed that relatives were texting me about like family plans. My mom was
Right.
very like every single minute, you gotta like Polish Catholic lady, like very emotional and very like, we are to be this place at this time and this place. We ended up having our Christmas tree up until like Easter, like the year after she died, because
Yeah.
nobody was barking at us to do anything. So I felt like I had to help with it and like and I don't even drive. I was like, look, I don't know how we can all meet at Olive Garden, I guess, but like I need a ride. Like, I don't...
But I mean, to be put into that position where, because
Right.
it's one thing to lose a parent,
Right.
and that's its own set of dynamics and circumstances, but then we don't relate to what it's like to lose a partner or a spouse.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
And then you were faced as the child with that dynamic of seeing the patriarch in your family going through his mourning
Horrible. Yeah.
and trying to be compassionate to that scenario while having your own experience.
Yeah.
It's pretty, I mean, to be split in those different areas, it's pretty taxing.
Exactly. Well, especially it was bad also because my mom, this disease is only they only specialize in treating it in Boston. So I'm from Detroit. My family's in like the Detroit suburbs right now, and so my mom was here in Boston with my dad. Since I live in New York, I was living like half in New York and like half at the hospital. So I like saw stuff that my younger brother and sister didn't see, like her getting rushed off to the ICU and being like, I don't want to die, and like my dad being like, it's okay, and my dad was totally in denial, and so
Yeah.
I'm like, my mom's talking to me being like, Catherine, I'm gonna die. You need to tell your dad. I'm like, I don't,
Yeah.
like I'm the kid,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really, really hard. And it's still, that's the thing is I think something people don't understand is that it does continue. Like on the day to day, it's
Sure.
all different, I'm not like in shock anymore. I think it got worse. It was the worst like 6 months after,
Oh, yeah.
Oh
yeah. And the fact that, when we try and apply humor to this kind of a situation, believe me, for those of you listening, there's grieving.
Right.
Don't think that like,
Right.
this is all,
Yeah.
we're taking stuff lightly. I mean, like the grieving, I mean, as much as I think I step into the inappropriate humor world,
Yeah.
I go just as deep into the grieving world. I mean, I
Same.
think that just comes with like having a dynamic sense of human conditioning.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you have no way to know how to navigate it until it happened. Like, I remember going through a period where if people would like text me and be like, how you doing? I didn't know how long after her dying that they meant, how you doing? Or if they meant like, how you doing?
doing?
Because
Yeah.
it'd be weird if I'm like, oh, great. And they meant, how you doing? They'd be like, she didn't even care that her
Well,
mom's
it's
dead.
so funny is
you
when
know?
this film came out, with the first time we screened it, there was a Q&A in LA, and we did like, a screening, and then I did a Q&A with the filmmakers, the director, and myself, and everybody approached me as if it just happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the movie just came out. Hey man, are you okay? I'm like, it was 30 years ago. I'm fine. Don't worry about it.
I wondered about that.
Oh yeah.
I wondered about that. If all of a sudden people, like with me, I told you, like people, if I'm like wearing, like sometimes I wear like my mom's like clothes, and they're like, they like your sweater. I'll be like, oh yeah, it's my dead mom's, and they're like,
Oh God.
are you okay? And like they'll be like, if I ask about my sweater, you just killed her, so you should be very sorry.
Do you ever think to speak to other people in like bereavement scenarios? Like there's bereavement groups, and
Yeah.
that's one thing that I wanted to speak to is people who go through trauma and have traumatic situations who don't have the tools or the friends or the support that obviously we had.
Right.
In fact, when I was a kid, I actually had to find those things because
Yeah.
I think at first I was on my own
Right.
quite a bit.
Right.
My dad was going through his
Right.
own thing,
Right.
which was, understandable, and that's his trip. But, and I was the only child, so I didn't even have siblings.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of navigate my own way, which probably explains a lot about me.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm, it has made me a better person, but it's just a very strange thing. And I really, I think that your perspective is important, and I really enjoyed it because there aren't that many people out there that are saying, yeah, I'm not really a religious person, but I got through it anyways. Because I didn't have a lot of that coming from anywhere. I had a very supportive family, but it was all religious based.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I don't believe you, so that makes me feel not better at all. I appreciate that you care about me. I'm not trying to be an asshole to anyone who's ever told me that my mom's looking over me.
Well, the way I look at it, and this sounds really, I don't know if I want it to be sappy or not, but whether it's religious based or spiritually based or compassion based or whatever, wherever it's coming from, if it's ultimately coming from a place of love,
Right.
I don't care. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's fine. You
Exactly.
know what I
No,
mean?
I agree.
The only religious thing that I ever push against is when it's condemnation and judgment. When if you really look into like the tenets of Christianity and stuff, that really shouldn't play a part anyway.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
they talk about not judging and they
Right.
talk about turning the other cheek.
Right.
And those are all things I agree with.
Right.
So when people are coming at you with judgment in the name of Christianity, they're not doing it right
Exactly.
anyway.
Exactly.
But ultimately, if it's from a place of love, I'm cool with it. You know what I
Right.
mean? If someone wants to tell me that, you know, God's looking out for me and they mean it in a place of love, I'm totally, I don't judge back. That's
Right.
the thing. I just don't want to be condemned for having my own viewpoint.
And I totally agree. But what I guess I'm saying is that it was refreshing to me, because if you're somebody who doesn't have that perspective, you think, okay, if I'm not religious, am I ever going to get through this?
Oh yeah,
You
but,
know?
but that's not to say that there isn't a spiritual aspect. Do
Right.
you have any kind of spiritual
I
connection?
do.
to
I
anything?
do. I have, I feel like you have to, right? I feel like you have to at least consider that it's possible.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Because there's being an atheist and there's being an agnostic.
I'm
And
agnostic.
an agnostic is open to maybe there might be something.
Yeah.
Okay, you turn on the light switch and power goes everywhere, but I don't
Yeah.
know how it works, but I know that it
Yeah.
works.
Right.
Okay, so it's like trusting that the light's going to go on when you flip the switch.
Right.
You don't understand the mechanics of it, but you kind of just let it be.
Right.
Well, that's my thing, and I think that in terms of spirituality, my thinking on the matter literally changes from day to day.
Same. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some days I have complete utter faith that there's a higher power at work. Other days I'm convinced there's not.
Yeah.
Other days I'm convinced there's a higher power at work, but it's only working against me.
Against me. Yeah.
You know
Definitely.
what I mean? And so it's, I think that because I don't feel the same way every day I wake up.
Yeah,
You know what I
me
mean? It's
either.
kind of a roll of the dice. Most of
Yeah.
the time it's pretty good, but some days, I come up short. And I think that my spiritual beliefs reflect that, and
Yeah.
I think that, sometimes it's based in science, sometimes it's based in, the universe and physics, and it's a science-based trust that there's an order that I don't
Yeah.
understand. Sometimes it's a white bearded guy up on a cloud.
Yeah.
But, there's no man-written doctrine or book that I prescribe
Right.
to.
I know. I just feel like I'm such a we're all just a bunch of idiots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, well, how could any one idiot, like, such as myself, be like, you know what, this is the way it is.
Mhm.
All you guys are wrong. So I'll be like, well, maybe this and you have a good point too, and you have a good point too, and it all just depends on how I feel.
Did you ever see the film, the Zeitgeist film?
Yeah.
Where they-
Yeah, I actually have
Yeah.
multiple times.
Yeah, and so they at the beginning of that film, they talk about how all the world religions have very similar, pivotal moments within them that can be echoed throughout. That's very similar. Or if you look at Krishna or Jesus or
Or
Buddha,
even like horoscopes.
that they're all
Yeah.
very, very similar. And so I believe that there's some, historical faith or fact included within all that. And I believe that Christ was a guy, and I believe that, but you know what I mean? Like, it's Christ today, might be the guy selling pencils in front of Woolworths.
Yeah, yeah. You don't
Screaming
know.
about socialism, they put the guy
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, the people that are out on the street screaming, I sometimes feel like
Those
they're-
are the messiahs of
they're-
the old world.
Yeah, sometimes I just walk down the street and I want to just throw my shit down and join them. Like, what a passionate life.
We're gonna go to hell. We are gonna go to hell. We're gonna find out that this is all real, and you and I are first in line.
Probably. All right. Well, I probably should wrap up here.
Yeah.
I'm having such a great conversation with you. Thank you
But
so
I feel like we're
much.
just having coffee and we're
I
not
know.
even doing a podcast.
That's what I
and-
told you. That's kind of.
And then this thing's gonna air, and we're gonna be like, we said what?
It's okay. Nobody can judge, right? Or it's.
Well, no, they do.
They do.
They shouldn't.
They do. They
key.
shouldn't. I know, but we're gonna get all kinds of stuff. It's gonna be. It'll be fun. People tweet the most random things. Somebody just randomly tweeted me. It put a strain on my relationship when my ex decided to become a Craigslist handjob girl.
Nice.
It does sound tough.
That sounds like it would strain a relationship.
A strain is a fair word. Oh boy. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on.
thank you for having
You're
me.
great. Yeah, Dave Navarro. You do all things. You're a
Several
jack
things.
of all trades. Everyone's got to see this documentary. You do
Yeah, it's
such a great
available.
job.
Mourning Son. It's MOURN, like mourn, and it's on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, all those.
Everybody watch
those
it.
digital outlets.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kat.
Kat Timpf Show. Thanks for listening. Bye.